The Ghana Football Association on Tuesday, May 17, 2022, issued a verdict on the alleged face game between Ash Gold and Interlight, which was played in the 2020-2021 season. The two clubs have been demoted to Division 2 after being found guilty of match fixing and match manipulation. Today we are in the office of the lawyer of Interlight, who have appealed the decision by the Disciplinary Committee, to speak to him on a variety of arguments in his 15-page statement. This is BizTech. I'm Perez as well, Paul, and after this break, we talk law. Welcome back from the break. This is BizTech on GhanaWeb TV, and my guest today is lawyer Felix Nana Osei. He is the legal rep for Interlight, who have applied an appeal. Maybe I take one again. Welcome back from the break. This is BizTech, and my name is Perez as well. My guest today is lawyer Felix Nana Osei, who is the legal rep for Interlight, who have appealed the decision by the Disciplinary Committee of the Ghana Football Association to demote his club and Ash Gold to Division 2. Like I've read your appeal, and I think we have over 15 pages. And
is it 15? Yeah, I think so. 15
pages, but I want us to dwell more on the particulars of the. I think that's where the meat is.
Yeah.
We have four
grounds of appeal.
Yes.
That we filed challenging the decision of the Disciplinary Committee. The first ground of appeal, as you have it in our appeal, is the fact that it's our contention that the decision that was given by the Disciplinary Committee was against the weight of evidence that was adduced or led during the proceedings. Now, what basically that means is that if you consider and evaluate what actually was placed on the table by the prosecution, vis-a-vis the investigations that they carried out and the case that they put before the Disciplinary Committee, if you evaluate it, the charges that were leveled against Interlight's football club was not proven.
But they found evidence of someone who, in quotes, self-volunteer of the club, basically colluding with some players, having interactions with some people at Ash Gold to fix the game. I think the main bone of contention is who is the man in question, the Onyemaas guy.
Okay, so this Iman Onyemaa, or aka Ni Gogo, used to be with Interlight's football club.
Okay.
Now, in the 2014-2015 season, Iman Onyemaa was registered with the club as the logistics officer. He was in charge of making arrangements for football pitch, getting us jerseys and everything that had to do with logistics. So after the 2014-2015 season, he resigned because he had the opportunity to serve his people in his hometown. He was installed as a chief, so he resigned. This is 8 years ago.
Was that communicated to the FA that this man no longer holds any position in
Good. Now, per the regulations of the FA, every football season, you must present the list of officials that you would want to work with. So from 2014-2015, Iman Onyemaa was no longer with us. That is the more reason why, in presenting their case, they were only able to pin us down to 2014-2015. Meanwhile, the matter in contention, or the season in contention, is 2020-2021. Why didn't they get evidence to the effect that in 2020-2021, Iman Onyemaa was part of our club?
The argument from the FA's perspective, and I've heard a few people closer to the FA, they claim that on that particular day, in that particular game, he was present at the pre-match in the name of Interlight. He traveled with the team, he was in the team's hotel. So if I'm not an official of the club, and per what I have read, you have to be an official of a club to represent the club at pre-match. And if Onyemaas was there, if he traveled with the team, and if he was slept in the team's hotel, then clearly, I mean, those are grounds for a layman to assume or to agree with the notion that Onyemaas is indeed an official of Interlight.
Well, you see, we have it at the back of our mind. After the investigations we ourselves conducted, Iman Onyemaa had an agenda that he wanted to execute or to push. Because he was an ex-official of Interlight's football club, of course, he was at every point in time welcome to the club. Once we didn't have any reason to believe that there was this hidden agenda or that he wanted to execute, we had no reason to distance ourselves from him. Now, it's true he joined the team bus. It's true he was with the team when they went to the hotel. But that wasn't sanctioned by management. It was on the blind side of management.
So management of Interlice were not aware that Onyemaas was even part of the team?
No, but then we confirmed that Onyemaas joined the team bus and he was part of he was with the team when they lodged in the hotel. So after this whole issue had come up, it was very sorry on our part because the manner in which the game was played and the outcome of the football match was such that it was mind-boggling for management. So we ourselves, or Interlice Football Club, conducted its own internal investigations. And I'll put it on record that it was based on the investigations Interlice conducted. We were able to fish out Iman Onyemaa. If it wasn't for Interlice, GFA would have never had Onyemaas as part of being part of this whole saga, because he was nowhere in the radar. Because the only people who GFA had their mind on, or the investigated to GFA had their mind on, were the players, and maybe the coach. If you stretch the argument, maybe the technical team. It was our investigations, when we were conducting our investigation and we were asking the players what went wrong. That was how come we got wind of the fact that Iman Onyemaa joined the team bus. He joined the team where they lodged in the hotel. So it became apparent for us to question him as well. And because he was an ex-official of our club, it was very easy getting him. So we asked him, we interrogated him, we got report from him, and we were able to link his attitude or his actions before and after the game to this whole scandal that had rocked the entire football match. So it was our investigative report that was presented to GFA. That led GFA to invite or engage the CID to trace Iman Onyemaa and get all the call logs or his call records and the Momo transactions that went on. If it wasn't for Interlice, this revelation wouldn't have come to light.
Someone would argue that the GFA would have also spoken to the players eventually. And just as you guys uncovered during your interrogation, they would have also discovered from the players that Onyemaas was the brain behind the whole thing.
I beg to differ on that because it's based on the way we conducted our investigations that pinned some of the players down because they are players. We know how to treat them. It was the kind of pressure that we gave them, the kind of interrogations that we made them go through, that they came out voluntarily and linked Iman Onyemaa to the whole picture. Because originally, Iman Onyemaa was not supposed to be part of the team that went there. So it raised an eyebrow.
But was that the only time Iman Onyemaa has been on Interlice?
You see, when it comes to Iman Onyemaa per se, he is part of the Regional Football Association.
Okay.
He is active in the sporting world when it comes to football in Ghana. So he makes arrangements for football pitches. He contacts commissioners and all that, and he arranges matches to be played. But on that fateful day, because because he had an agenda to push, that's how come he was able to maneuver his way around and execute his agenda. Now, if you read a report from the GFA said that Ashgold was dealing with Iman Onyemaa because they felt or they believed that Iman Onyemaa was an official of Interlice. You see, it is because Iman Onyemaa had represented or misrepresented himself to Ashgold. That's how come they were dealing with him. But make it clear, let me make it clear. Interlice Football Club is a legal entity on its own.
Sure.
What Interlice Football Club does is distinct and different from what the officials of Interlice do. Now, let me conclude. If you would want to associate the actions of officials to that of Inter-Allies and say that the actions of the officers or the officials of Inter-Allies are synonymous with the club, there are a whole lot of requirements that need to be satisfied.
Yeah.
For instance, if the president of Inter-Allies makes a declaration on behalf of Inter-Allies, we can say that it is Inter-Allies that has acted.
Sure.
If the managing director of Inter-Allies makes a declaration or makes a misrepresentation or a representation, whatever, any action or inaction it takes, it affects Inter-Allies. Now, if the members or the shareholders of Inter-Allies during a shareholders meeting make a resolution, it is Inter-Allies that has acted. But if officers, ordinary officers, take actions that are not sanctioned by Inter-Allies, you can't say that the officer's action or inaction is synonymous with Inter-Allies. That is a principle that has to do with corporate governance and the legal, separate legal entity principle.
So your argument basically is that Onyemaas is not a sanctioned or it's not a recognized official of Inter-Allies. Therefore, his actions cannot be equated or cannot be meant to be actions or decisions of the club.
Precisely. And our reaction after the game and the sanctions we also placed after the game should tell anyone that if indeed we were complicit in this whole scandal and in these whole allegations that were leveled against us, we wouldn't have voluntarily given out information. You see, one, he wasn't registered with us during the season in contention. He is not an official of Inter-Allies. That fact needs to be established clearly. And of course, when the prosecution was leading evidence and were giving their side of the story or prosecuting their case, they only said they were able to link Iman Onyemaa to Inter-Allies because of a 2014-2015 FIFA Connect system.
Sure.
What happened to 2020-2021 FIFA Connect system? Why would you want to take someone who was with us 8 years ago? And because he was with us 8 years ago, the actions that he has taken in 2020, 8 years down the line, should be our responsibility.
Maybe the reason could be that if he was with you guys then he still has some legitimacy, he still has some influence in the club to make certain decisions. Maybe.
No, he has no influence. And as I was saying, if Inter-Allies is supposed to act, there are three ways when you look at the company law that gives ways that companies must act. The company can act through its managing director. The company can act through members during a general meeting, or the company can act through the board of directors. Iman Onyemaa is nowhere near these category of persons in the company. So, as I've already said, he had an agenda to push, and to be able to execute the agenda, he had to do his homework well, make sure he represented some sort of a clean sheet to whoever was his counterpart, for the person to believe that indeed he wielded some influence. But in actual sense or in actual fact, he wielded no influence. Because during investigations, some football players of Inter-Allies were not even in the known of this whole 5-1 scandal or 5-1 match betting that was supposed to go on. Some of the players didn't know. Hashmin, for instance, Hashmin, who had to score 2 own goals, he plays for Inter-Allies. Hashmin confirmed during the proceedings that Inter-Allies Football Club, before going into the game, promised each and every player 1,000 Ghana cedis winning bonus. This was before the game. So if Inter-Allies Football Club had placed this match on bet, why would Inter-Allies promise each and every player 1,000 Ghana cedis? For what? This is on record. And we are saying that the disciplinary committee, if they had attached weight to this piece of evidence, same way that they attached weight to Hashmin's evidence, and for that matter, they mitigated his sentence, they would have realized that Inter-Allies Football Club was not culpable of the charges or the offenses they leveled against us.
You argue again that the FA's ruling was based on conjecture and basically allegation. They had no foundation basically to come out with a decision they came out against Interlice. On what basis do you make such argument?
Good. Now, if you read the decision, they are saying that when they interviewed Nkommo said he wasn't going to release any information to them as far as Interlice was concerned. And based on that, they felt Interlice was responsible and Interlice was guilty of.
It could be that he's protecting the big bosses who, commissioned him to undertake the.
That is the conjecture we are talking about. If you've leveled charges against me, you should be able to prove. Yeah. It is your case against my case.
Yes.
You are the prosecution. You should be able to gather your evidence and prove. Now, per their standard, their own standard, they are saying that the standard is one that is beyond reasonable doubt, but then it's above the preponderance of probability. So when you balance it, it means that the standard of proof is supposed to be down, which is more than what is expected in a civil suit. So if you are saying that Interlice was complicit in this whole saga, you should be able to link it up. Okay, when Nkommo was able to engage the other party, and Nkommo was sent money through Momo, he was giving the money. Did he give any official or did he give Interlice that money? Did Interlice benefit from the transaction that went on? These are things that the disciplinary committee or the prosecution was supposed to have satisfied. This wasn't done. So how then do you pin Interlice as part of the whole deal or the whole scandal? It should be linked up. It shouldn't be just based on conjecture. Because he was not able to provide you with evidence, you are saying, okay, then we are guessing that he's withholding evidence from us and he's trying to cover up Interlice. It doesn't work that way.
All right, thank you very much, lawyer Nana, Felix Nana Osei. This is Sports Check. My name is Perez as well. We are discussing the ruling by the Ghana Football Association, the subsequent appeal by Interlice. Their lawyer is my guest on Sports Check today. And after the break, we will dive into more issues here. Welcome back from the break. We are discussing Interlice appeal of the decision by the Disciplinary Committee of the Ghana Football Association to demote them to the Division 2 of Ghana football. And also earlier you made the point that Interlice conducted internal investigations. I have two questions. What were the findings, and did you sanction the players and some officials who were found culpable in this whole scheme?
Yes, when this whole issue came up, it was a big blow to the team. So immediately we were able to set up a committee, now come up with our investigations, conduct our investigations, come up with a report, and also report to management. Now, our investigations revealed that indeed Iman Onyemaa was the mastermind behind this whole saga. Now, some of the players were also found culpable. And this investigative report that was dated on the 22nd day of July, 2021. I think the incident happened on the 17th day of July, 2021. We had our report on the 22nd day of July, 2021. We forwarded it to the integrity officer of the GFA, and we captioned it, investigations into Ghana Premier League match day 34 game, Ashanti Gold Sporting Club versus Interlice Football Club. Now, let me read to you the account of management. The account of management. It says that the committee spoke with management. It became obvious that none of the management members traveled with the team, which is a norm when a team travels afar. The management, proud to departure of the team, promised the playing and technical team a winning bonus of 1,000 Ghana cedis. This promise was confirmed by all the players who appeared before the committee. The management on the account had no knowledge of any match fixing or placing the match on betting. The management were not contacted by any person either from the opposing team or betting company and has resolved to assist the GFA in its investigations. The committee will continue its work and will make available any cogent evidence pursuant to the issue at hand. So those who were found culpable they were sanctioned. Their salaries were withdrawn, and they were dismissed from the club.
Okay.
Now, the period within which this our investigations was conducted and that of the GFA, it more or less clashed. So we had to, at some point, put a pause on ours and concentrate on that of the GFA. So we handed over everything that was at our disposal to the GFA. So the GFA carried it up from there, and they even involved the CID to help them with the investigations based on the leads that we gave to them.
But in particular, Onyemaas, couldn't you guys report him to the CID yourself and say, this man is representing us, parading himself as an official of the club, but we don't recognize him and he's going to bring us some bit of shame, so we want you to deal with him? Yeah,
so because we gave the whole info or information to the GFA integrity officer, he carried it out from there. And because the CID, we knew the CID was involved, it was just going to be more or less like a duplicity of action for us to also report the same matter to the CID. So the CID conducted their own investigation, and it was through the CID that they got the call-ups and the transactions that occurred through the Momo. That's how come this whole thing came about.
So do management feel betrayed or by the FA that we collaborated with you, worked with you to uncover this plot, then you stab us in the back with a demotion to Division 2? How did they take the ruling?
We took the ruling. If you've read our appeal, we classified it as a witch hunt, because if you are charging us with some offenses that you feel we have committed, you should be able to prove that indeed we committed the offense. If you look at the charges against us, the charges against Interallies was that, you read the charges, there are two charges. It says count 1. The club was charged for breach of Article 34(5)(a) of the Premier League regulations for instigating, commanding, and counseling its players to play a fixed match or match of convenience between Ashanti Gold SC and Interallies FC to achieve a result in favor of Ashanti Gold SC, an act which the club knew or ought to have known at the time of engaging in it to be contrary to the Premier League regulations of the Ghana Football Association. This is the charge against Interallies. Did we instigate? Did we command? Did we counsel our players? Are you saying that by promising our players 1,000 Ghana cedis each if they were going to win, was counseling them to play a match that has been fixed? Obviously, it didn't sit well with us. So we feel that we've been given a raw deal by the GFA or the Disciplinary Committee. Now, Hashmin, who also came out to more or less voice out his frustrations on air, he's been punished. Do you think someone who sees himself as a whistleblower, someday, somehow, when he gets involved in this kind of things, will voluntarily come out and voice things out? I
think the issue with the Hashmin situation is that you don't take the law into your own hands. In basically, you committed an illegality in trying to correct an illegality. So you feel that they've planned to fix a game. You've heard of it. There was a match commissioner. There were GFA officials. You could have told them. You don't take the law into your own hands as a player, go in, score 2 goals, and bring the name of the game into disrepute. So basically, I think from you, I understand what he was trying to do, trying to make sure that what they had planned did not come to pass. But in doing so, how he did it is the main. Because I think the FA, the thing is that once you hear of it, you must report, you must take an action. And as a player and as a stakeholder, what he should have done was to report to the match commissioner. And maybe you could argue that maybe the GFA could have let him off the hook. But I feel like a 6 months ban, it's okay, honestly.
Well, I'm not to argue for Hashmin, but the reason why I chipped in Hashmin's issue has to do with the fact that he was able to collaborate with the GFA. Yeah. You know, we are all here to protect the integrity of the game. Sure. You should also bear in mind that in as much as some of us would want the integrity of the game to be held high esteem, there are some bad nuts within us who also want to bring the name of the game down into disrepute. So what actions are you taking, or what actions will you take to encourage those who feel that they are here to protect the game? Now, Hashmin, of course, he took an action which everyone would believe that doesn't happen in football. He was subbed on at some point in time, I think when the match was 3-0. He was subbed on when the match was 3-0, and when Ash Gold had scored the 5th goal, he felt that, okay, the rumors he had heard was coming to fruition. So let me just scatter everything and put sand in their gari by scoring the 2 own goals. For us, when Hashmin also gave the interview, it was surprising to us because he didn't inform anyone. Management was not aware. And the whole saga was so bad in taste to the extent that as management or as top members of the top hierarchy of the club, you will sit down looking at the faces of each and everyone and asking yourself, what went wrong? Yeah. What did we do wrong? What happened? That is why we conducted our own investigations. It became very important that we conducted our own investigations, and we came up with our investigative report.
But you cashed in, Interlice cashed in on one of the players. The Lamte, the one he sold to Kumasi and Kotoko.
The deal was done way before the completion of the 2020-2021 season. Interlice cashes in on most of its players. When you look at the whole of the sub-region or even in Africa, Interlice is one of the clubs that is able to export its players to foreign clubs or foreign teams.
So you had already signed for Kotoko even before that game?
Precisely. That was the last game. That was the last game of the season. And
I think there were 2 games from match day 34.
34. Yeah. Okay. So the deal was already done. It wasn't because of that game that got what's his name? Lamte the deal.
Okay.
He already had his plans, and he already has had his way out of the club.
So now, what do you want from the FA?
Okay.
From the appeals committee?
We want a reversal of the decision that has been handed against us. That 100,000 Ghana cedis is so harsh on a club like Interlice, and also demoting us to Division 2 for an offense we know nothing about. It is different if evidence was laid or there is concrete evidence to show that Interlice Football Club as an entity did engage, as the charges spell out, did engage with Ashgo in this case to collaborate and come out with this ugly fixture. But we didn't have any hand to do with hand in it. Why should we be punished?
And if the FA refused your request, what next?
There are structures. We are going to CAS, the Court of Arbitration of Sports. That is where we would head our next journey to. That is where we will go. We believe in our case. We believe we have a strong case to make at the appeals committee. The appeals committee would consider the arguments that we have placed before them. More importantly, the dichotomy that we are making between Interlice and its officials and Iman Onyemaa especially, who we have established, or who the disciplinary committee was not able to establish, that the season and contention, he was our official. And he had or he wielded influence in the team so as to have actions or commit actions that would be binding on the team. Once he was nobody, he was someone who had his own agenda and wanted to carry out a secret agenda. He was on the front of his own. That's how we put it. His actions are not binding on the club.
You know, when you talk about Interlice, the first person that comes to mind, Mr. Delali Senaya. How is he taking all of this? I mean, I'm sure you've had conversations with him.
Of course, I'm in constant touch with Dela, and he's so distraught about the whole saga. You know, if you know how difficult it is to run a football club in this country, and if the reputation you've built for a very long time should be nipped in the bud just like that, it has a toll on you as a football manager. So, I mean, as much as he's taking, he's taking the blow given by the disciplinary committee in good faith, he also believes in the system, and that's how come he's instructed us to appeal against the decision and go and
does it feel targeted? when I listen to some officials of Ashgo, they claim that it's because they were against Keto Kreku in the GFA elections. Reason why the GFA is now coming at them. Does Delali has similar?
No, he doesn't have misgivings of that effect. He's a free thinker. He doesn't think someone is targeting him. He really feels and thinks that the decision was not applied in accordance with the law, in accordance with the evaluation of the evidence that was presented to the disciplinary committee. If the disciplinary committee had indeed evaluated the evidence correctly, we wouldn't have been sitting here having this conversation. Interalliance is so innocent of the charges that were leveled against them.
So what measures is the club putting in place to ensure that they will not find themselves in this particular situation a year or two from now?
So it's very important that whoever comes close to the club is scrutinized. Now, in terms of phone handling, the club is putting in place measures that would make sure betting of any sort is not encouraged by any of the players. We have our own internal regulations or internal structures that we are putting in place to make sure that the integrity of the game is held in high esteem and is not nipped in the bud as people want it to appear like. So as we speak, the club itself is putting in place some measures that would protect the image of the club.
But this will affect the club a lot because Interalliance basically it's a produce and sell club, and I'm sure your partners outside who buy players from your club will now be looking at this and say, are these the kind of characters we want in our team?
It has affected the club. The more reason why we want to have our name vindicated, because if we leave matters like that, it means that we are accepting liability of matters that, or of charges that we know nothing about. That is why we are using the legally acceptable channels to ventilate our frustration and also put our case forward and make sure that the decision given by the disciplinary committee is overturned. And we are 100% confident and sure that the appeals committee of the GFA will look through the charges that were leveled against us, the arguments we are making or will be making before them, and they'll have a basis to reverse this decision that was given by the disciplinary committee.
I mean, good luck with that. This is Sports Check, and I've been speaking to lawyer Felix Nana Osei, the legal rep for Ashgo. They've appealed the ruling by the disciplinary committee of the Ghana Football Association. They feel that they cannot be held liable for the mistakes and the greed of Mr. Iman Onyemaa, who colluded with the CEO and owner of Ashgold to fix the game between Ashgold and Interalliance last season. This is Sports Check. My name is Perez Ezwapal. Upon.